The best that I could come up with is around habits of a servant leader. And the reason I did that is because I think it'll meet the needs of what people said here. One, I want to try to give you all an opportunity to get to know me a little bit better. I want to talk servant leadership and civility for a second. And then I want to make sure that I'm giving you something actionable. I think there were a couple folks that said that, like, as we're on a journey, because this is absolutely a journey, not a destination. We are all looking forward to how we can become better servant leaders. So the reason why I wanted to anchor it in habits is because habits are something that you do with pretty much little thought, and they can be built intentionally, and that's a big piece of my background. Education has always been that, and not just your traditional K-12 when we think our school teachers and our history education. I'm talking about learning generally. So that is something that I'm incredibly passionate about, and I think I've had experiences that have led me in servant leadership that I didn't even identify in my early days as being a servant leader, but I was forming that, and it wasn't until later, after much reflection, that I realized that was the anchor of how I've led. So growing up, one, I had two incredible examples. My mom worked for We Energy. She was a VP of HR. She's in the corporate space. My dad worked for a labor union. And so at a very early age, I had examples of incredible servant leaders. They didn't just do their job. They cared about the well-being and the health of the people that they were with and around. The way that my mom did that in the corporate space, speaking to like our corporate leaders, she really was passionate about equity, inclusion, diversity, and this is back in the 80s, so this is before this started becoming like the thing that we're still working on figuring out. She knew the value of diverse perspectives and the value of community. Something that we talk about a lot in servant leadership is this idea of empathy and compassion. It's impossible to be empathetic and have compassion for people that you don't know and communities that you don't know. And so that's something that's, to me, an action item that feels very tangible, and what's beautiful about this space that's being created here is that we get to be in community with people who have this desire. And so even as y'all get to know me, I'm a new person to add to your rotation and your community, because we will together offer different perspectives and unique perspectives. So moving forward, I got to see that in the corporate angle, my mom and the work that she did on behalf and in service of others, never to lead or assert her power, but to see that there's in Greenleaf's quote, which I love that he spent so much time in coining and uplifting this phrase, but he talks about knowing if you're a servant leader as a measure of the people that you're serving being wiser, healthier, more independent and liberated. And now when we talk about things like that, they sound radical, but that's literally how you would measure how much of a servant leader you are. Look at the people that are around you, and because of your influence, are they healthier? Are they wiser? Are they more intelligent? Are they more empathetic? So I got to see that literally on my mom's side, and that's why I can say with full confidence that I got to learn from a servant leader. On my dad's side, I didn't know what we were doing. We were just knocking on doors. I was just hanging out with Dad on a Saturday. I like to think he was using me to like get people to open their doors, because I was like a little toddler, but he was trying to get out the vote. He was trying to get people to engage civically and have conversation. And while he had his candidates and the people that we pushed, there was never a push on us as children to follow suit. It was always about becoming a thinker. And that's something that I credit to my parents as well, and is a big part of my upbringing. Moving forward, I went to school for pre-med. I went to UW-Madison. I didn't know what I was doing. For some of you who don't know, medicine isn't just one of those things you just decide that you're going to do, medical school. Let's just go. My parents were like, I think you kind of need to know if that's what you want to do. And I'm like, you're probably right, because I will probably need help paying for it. So I ended up, as I was completing college, not actually going down that route, but in preparation for medical school, you might be a CNA or an EMT or something like that. I knew I wanted a career in service. I didn't know. I thought that it was very obvious to be a doctor because you serve people. That's the career that gets accredited with a lot of service. But there are so many careers we're not exposed to, and actually in every career you should be oriented about service, and the way that you lead should be oriented about serving people. So I had that realization when working on an ambulance. I'm like, this isn't the way that I sucked at science. I don't know why I wanted to be in medicine, but I wanted to because I thought about service, and I thought about people becoming more independent, healthier. It was a clear line, but what I learned at that time was that it was actually that people needed to be educated and empowered, and And so that's kind of what pivoted me into this idea of leadership development. And that is a lot of what I do at Professional Dimensions. That's a lot of what I do in my spare time. And so that's what has allowed me to kind of think more broadly about the habits. So as I close out, I want to, in telling that story, I want to just hone in on what I think would be three incredible habits that you all can embody. One is understanding your power as a leader. Some of us lead because we've inherited a power by title or by resources, but there's also a power that's inherited through your service, and that makes you powerful, and you should be thinking about how you use that to uplift others. Building community. That means that you have a shared responsibility for what comes. When you build community, you are responsible for what happens in your community, and when you engage with a community that's bigger than yours, you will take on more responsibility. That work is very difficult. I'm just leave it there. You'll know you're doing it right if it's difficult. And the last is finding opportunity in complexity and uncertainty. And I think we've had that a lot, especially navigating COVID. Seeing that as an opportunity when things are not making sense, or there's an incredible amount of nuance, saying like, how do I lean into service? How do I lean into listening? How do I lean into understanding my environment to actually create a path that is collective and that is shared, and knowing that you can do it as a community. So that's something that I've learned. Thank you for this time and platform, and I hope to talk to you all a little bit more later.